That's why they.
Okay, we are going live. I'd like to welcome everyone tonight to our city council meeting. We're going to start with the invocation, and that will be followed by the pledge of allegiance. If you would, please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and all the blessings you have given us. We thank you for providing us the opportunity to serve the citizens of Elkins. We ask that you guide us on our decision making as we strive to help our community grow. We also ask that you watch over and guide our country's leaders. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will now call the Elkins City Council meeting to order. Ask my clerk to take the roll, please.
Councilor Bross Friganera.
Here.
Councilor Carroll.
Here.
Councilor Chenoweth is absent. Councilor Hinchman.
Here.
Councilor Kearns. Here. Councilor Lowther.
Here.
Councilor Pliszka.
Here.
Councilor Severino.
Here.
Councilor Thompson.
Here.
And Councilor Woods.
Here.
9, you have a quorum.
Thank you. No one has signed up for public comment tonight, so we'll move down to the minutes portion. And I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes from the May 21st meeting as submitted.
So moved.
We have a motion. Any questions or comments? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Under correspondence, you can see we're still doing proclamations, the event request, and the building officer's report. Now we will move down to the council reports and start with Councilor Hinchman.
Okay, no report for public safety on finance. Finance met and we went over the budget revision number 4. We went over revisions 13 to 24, what we'll be voting on tonight. We also went over funding number 36 and 404. And we had discussions on ad hoc funding request. And we had discussions for the Heart Office Solutions contracted by the fire department.
Thank you. Councilor Pliszka.
No report.
Thank you. Councilor Bross Friganera.
Just Rules and Ordinances meeting this month has been canceled or postponed. There wasn't anything super pressing and kept having difficulty getting everybody here since summer has begun. I would like to report that this Saturday, Tree Board will be working with the Ascend folks with the great cleanup, and we'll be weeding, putting down mulch, trimming, pruning, all the trees downtown. So that should be fun and also really improve what downtown looks like. I'm grateful for the Ascenders.
Thank you. Councilor Woods.
No report.
Thank you. Councilor Kearns. No report. Thank you. Councilor Severino.
No report.
Thank you. Councilor Lowther.
No report for municipal properties, unless city clerk would like to give an update on what took place.
I could do that in a second. I wasn't.
Okay. And Parks and Recreation will meet on the 17th.
Thank you. Councilor Carroll.
The planning commission didn't meet this month, but everything is in order for moving forward with the comprehensive plan.
Thank you. Councilor Thompson.
Nothing major, just you'll see on your packet this evening for Resolution 1923, the motor vehicle record check policy. Good policy that'll keep us in line. Governments and municipalities across the state are, increasingly being encouraged to adopt this so that we have, safe people driving and operating our vehicles. So our insurance rate's low. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving down to the officer reports, we will start with our city treasurer, Ms. Keegan.
All right, you have several of the monthly reports in your packet. I'll touch on just a couple things. On the general fund revenue, we will be falling short of our budgeted amount on the gas and oil severance tax and municipal court, but all other items are in real good shape. So we will come out in the black and not in the red. On the invoice cloud scorecard, the past 12 months show an on-time payment rate of 90.8%. I'm very pleased with that. And we continue to push the online services and paperless services as well. Tuesday, I received our workers' comp renewal. Our E-mod rate had dropped 19 points. So our fiscal year premium coming up is going to be $10,750 less than the current premium. that basically, eMod basically compares the same type of business in the same size, same industry, and then based on the claims that we have. So good shout out to admin officers and their supervisors and the employees for staying safe. It pays off. The budget revisions tonight will be the last ones for the state general fire and sanitation funds for this fiscal year. And then Resolution 1931, the financing of the City Hall project. I'm very pleased to say that Mountain Valley Bank is committed to financing the entire project for the same terms and interest rate that USDA had offered for partial funding. When Doug Weiss, who's the president and CEO of Mountain Valley Bank, reached out to me with the offer, I was a little surprised but grateful that we could work with a local bank on the project. And I hope the financing is approved tonight since we're nearing the end of the project. And that is all I have unless anybody has any questions.
Tracy, does switching from the USDA to Mountain Valley, does that affect anything with our grants or anything, or the credits that we were trying to get? That doesn't
No.
affect anything with that?
No, it'll be an easier,
I definitely agree. It'd probably be easier to work
Yeah,
with Mountain
it
Valley
will be.
versus the federal
because you
government.
can,
So,
if you
yeah.
have questions, you can go down the road.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of shift with USDA in the last probably 9 months. They completely cleaned house and started all over with new people, and our contact with Fahi was struggling getting answers on some things. But once again, Mountain Valley stepped up and
This is just solely the financing, won't affect anything else, just the action.
Absolutely not.
Okay, perfect.
Correct, yes.
Wonderful news.
It's great to be able to work with a local
Mhm.
bank.
Oh,
too.
absolutely.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
That's really important.
Tracy, I had one question on the general fund revenue trends.
Mhm.
Every time I look at these, I discover something new that I'm kind of curious about. And so, can you explain what are the franchise fees and the police equipment fees?
So police equipment fees is a $60 fee that is added on to a court amount, and that is basically goes toward the police department's equipment.
Oh, cool.
There never used to be that, and then there was like $1 or $2, I believe it's, but the $60 been in place probably a couple of years, wouldn't you say, Travis? Or yeah. So that is what that is, and franchise fees is optimum. We get an amount for them. Yeah, for having that franchise here.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Tracy? If not, our operations manager, Mr. Kessinger.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. I'll start in a little bit of different order this evening. First bit of news is concerning this building we're in right now. The roof replacement should start the third week of July here and will be finished well in advance of Forest Festival. We had some delays with some manufacturers. That's what's kind of slowed the process down, but they're going to bring some machinery on site that will actually cut all the metal while it's right here on site and put it on the roof. So we're excited about that. And like I say, that should start around the third week of July. I talked with Jesse today, our code enforcement officer, through email. Wanted me to bring to your attention that it's sounding very positive that we will have more funding available in the near future for more dilapidated properties, which we're really excited about. We're really excited because we have such a good relationship with DEP and the way we handle things that we're confident we'll be able to get some more money. What I ask of the mayor and council, anyone else, see a property that you think might qualify to be on the list, Jesse and I, please put it in an email so we don't just write it down somewhere and put it in an email. And then Jesse will do what's necessary to see if it qualifies for the program. So we're really excited about that, and we're going to continue to strive to keep that relationship with DEP on this program top notch. So that's really good news. Sanitation.
Interject there for a
Yeah,
second,
absolutely.
Mike, if you don't mind. And this is basically for the public more than anybody else. We do try to rehab properties when possible.
Absolutely.
The ones that we're approaching right now are beyond that realm. So, I mean, we're not taking down properties that could be rehabbed.
Right.
Jesse has made that apparent in the past. You've said that message. But I just want to remind folks, as we're going through looking around, you said, oh, that one. No, we're looking at them do a deep dive to see if it is possible to rehab it.
And there's criteria they have to meet to be on the
Absolutely.
program to start with. So yeah, absolutely.
Some of them are not salvageable though, so
Mhm.
that's why we're fortunate to have the relationship we have with DEP. So
Absolutely.
Mhm.
thank you.
Sanitation department, normal operations, those guys continue to do a tremendous job. And I'm really excited to announce a young man that's been a loader in the sanitation department for a couple years now, Casey Collins. We don't need a driver at this point. We're fully staffed, but he asked and we approved him to go get his CDLs. He passed his exam. So now we have a fill-in driver. If someone's on vacation, calls in sick, or something happens that we need a driver, Casey has his CDLs. He's shown a lot of drive to move forward in that department. So it's great to announce when an employee does something to improve their status within the department. So congratulations to Casey. Good job for the sanitation department to promote their guys like that. Street department's been really, really busy. They're replacing damaged and faded signage throughout the city currently, continuing to clean storm drains throughout the city. Some of these downpours, you get one clean and then you got to go back and clean it again because everything washes down to it. We're getting ready to prepare to paint curbs and crosswalks throughout town. And they've been working on making sure all the flower baskets are installed and anchored down correctly throughout town as well. They continue to do a phenomenal job as well. Have nothing but good things to say about those departments. And now to your city hall update. Concrete framework has been set behind City Hall, ready to pour the ADA compliant ramp, the patio area, and the steps behind the building. I don't know the exact timeline as to when that's going to be poured, but it should be coming up really soon. They're doing all the framework. They got it all laid out. I have to jump over bits and pieces of it to get in the building every morning, but it's good. Continue to work on all the floors with plaster, paint, trim, getting ready to lay carpet in some of the offices on every level of the building. So that's coming along nicely. Very excited to say we received elevator parts this week. So that was the one thing, we were always kind of holding our breath about because it's probably the most complex issue remaining in the rehab of City Hall. But we're getting the parts in, so we start working on that in the very, very near future, which is really, really exciting. Stairwell behind council chambers has been completely demolished. It's gone. And they're starting the construction of the stairwell. I don't want to call it a stairwell, just a small set of stairs that goes on the third floor landing at the top of the back stairwell. It'll go up to the old jury chambers. So those offices will still be able to be used for whatever we need them to. Be a lot more user friendly. And then by having that stairwell removed behind council chambers, it helps with our audio-visual room that we want to have for meetings and things of that nature. So we're excited about that as well. Mountain Valley Bank, that City Hall today and walk through again. Very pleased with the progress we've made. Very impressed with what's going on and excited about being able to work with us. They just think it's a great thing for the community to see a local bank 1 block away from City Hall fully funding this project. And I thanked them for reaching out to us. We did not contact them. They contacted us. It was like, hey, we're interested. What can we do to help? So that was really awesome that they did that. Very excited to announce police department back in their office space.
Wow.
And Triumph Trailers will be coming on site on Monday or Tuesday. I'm sorry. Yes, Tuesday. They'll be coming on site on Tuesday to prep the trailers and get the 3 trailers out that the police department have been using, which will come at a tremendous cost savings for us. And it will open up the side of the building to finish the restoration work on the outside of the building. And it will open up that parking lot so we can start working on storm drains on that side of the building. So we're excited about that. Public notice, city court will still be in their trailer. We're not moving them out yet. So they will still be in their trailer. So we're really excited about that. Police department, all their cabling and connections are complete for their IT. Only some cosmetic items need to be completed, but we're probably going to hold off on that until you have all your furniture in place and have your offices set up the way you want them. So it'll make it easier for us. We're not moving, we need to do it over here or something like that. So we're excited about that. The basement wiring for IT is underway, be completed very soon. And the remainder of the first floor cabling is connected and done and tested as well. So your office space is good to go. Temperature sensors are been installed in the IT room currently, and the HVAC system is holding the temperature at what we expected, and we'll continue to monitor those as we move throughout the rest of the summer season and then into fall and winter. Other than that, that's all I have. And I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
We need to get the power situated for the police department, because I know they're having issues with the air conditioning kind of blowing the break in the first couple of
Yes,
days, so.
the electrician has worked on it and discovered the problem, and it should be fixed.
Perfect.
Yep. Yeah, Chief sent me a text the other day. He goes, "It's really hot in the office," and I got a hold of John, one of the lead electricians for commercial builders, and he literally quit what he was doing and went down to check it out. So they tremendous. Yep, absolutely.
Are we still on schedule to be completed by the
Yes, we are.
deadline?
Yes, we are.
One other comment I have, you mentioned the roof here. I know you guys put a temporary fix in place
Mhm.
until you get the roof replaced on this. I'm glad it's still on with the storm that was delivered earlier, because I was actually concerned about that, because
The last
That
two
was
storms we've had, I've held my
Yeah.
breath for City Hall and for here.
that was some serious wind that we had with us. So the temporary Band-Aid still holding is what I'll say.
So those guys did a really good job on that. And again, like I explained to council when we did that project, it was just a Band-Aid to get us through to where we could get the new roof installed, but it had to be done.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, it held up, so.
Yep,
well done.
absolutely.
Any other questions?
Mike, with the storms that we've been having,
Yes.
are we seeing the work that we've done up Diamond Street give us some relief?
I was in Walgreens the other evening heading home, and two of the citizens that had originally reached out to me about the problems at Diamond Street. And by no means was it my work, it was the street department's work. But the gentleman shook my hand and said, "Thank you." He said, "We have not had a problem since."
We've seen a lot of
And-
relief out
And
of
that's
that.
also the same thing, just one further down from where that
Right.
to go to the Graham Street. There's a slight small pooling, but that's expected just in a cave. It's been, I told Mike that the other day. I was so
They were
appreciative.
Very pleased. So now we're getting ready to move to a different area of town and tackle a bigger problem. So I'll keep you up to date on that as it progresses.
Thank you.
Mike, I had a question about on the street signs. You mentioned that they were going to be going around replacing like street signs or
Faded limbs
signage.
or anything that may be damaged or faded that just doesn't, look really good. We go through periodically throughout the year.
Okay, because that's little things that I noticed just
Yeah.
from my,
And please, if you notice a street sign that's like it's faded, it's hard to read, or the lettering's getting faded on it, shoot me an email, tell me which street it is, and we'll get it.
do they also do like reposition them too? Like I've noticed
Yes.
several that are
If
like
you find one
this
that's,
way
listen,
versus,
if you find one that's leaning or it's been turned and it's not really, which street is that?
yeah.
Please shoot me an email. I'll forward it off
Okay.
to Sean, and those guys will get on it right away and make it happen.
And one thing, we're meeting on Monday to sort of look at the new 15 mile per
Yes.
hour, adding some children at play signage underneath that, just to make that stand out a little bit more.
Mhm.
And
I think we're doing that Monday morning. aren't we?
yeah,
Yes.
Monday morning.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's great. And I know Sean has ordered some more. There was one on Bruce Street that was
Yes.
from like the
Has
50s.
that been effective, the 15 mile an hour? I mean,
I've had no
think-
complaints.
I mean,
One of the things that I've heard is people aren't seeing that 15 mile per hour sign because it's right when you turn in at most of the entrances of those areas. But I think having the children at play thing being the bright yellow will help with that, and hopefully we'll maybe have a story or something about this happening, because I'm not sure if people are really aware. I mean, I post.
the reason I ask is Hebner Avenue from 219 to the children's home is like a drag strip. Apparently, when you turn off at 219 and start up the hill, you have to have it just fully to the floor to come up the hill.
Oh.
And when you're around the corner at the children's home, you have to. So I'd like to see it.
It's a funky intersection right there.
Right.
Mhm.
I mean, if it's effective, I'd like to see it.
Well, and I think
Reduced in our area
I think
as
we
well.
discussed that like this could be used as a trial area,
Right.
and if it does work, we could look into other areas to do
Mhm.
as well. So yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Let me know.
Yeah,
Mike, I had
I think it is important to have.
I've got a
some-
4-year-old to play.
Go back
Yeah,
and forth on it.
absolutely.
They fly like idiots through there.
Yeah.
They-
Yeah.
I'm right on the front street.
Right.
You're up on the hill away from it.
By the time you go through this turn, it's
I had two logistical questions I was curious about that just kind of popped in my head. So when sanitation has a holiday and then they do a double day, how do they do this? Is that double cruise or how does that end up working out? I was just always curious about
What
that.
we usually do is supervisor between the sanitation department and the street department will get together, and the street department will forfeit a couple guys for the day and put extra loaders on the truck, and they'll get out in front of the trucks and start pulling stuff out so they can move quicker. So yeah, double day, it is a multi-department task. And that's why, these guys in the sanitation department, that's why, the thankless job. And there's a lot of holidays that the city takes that this crew does not take because they just don't like those. They call them double days. They just don't like them. So, and that's perfectly fine with me, and I get it. But yeah. It's a multi-department task when we do those. Sean's always really liberal with giving Tim some extra bodies to help out, and the guys don't complain about it. They know teamwork. We're all one team.
And then the other curiosity, the old street signs like the obelisks that were out. I know there was one at 3rd and or 4th and Kearns that had been leaning, and it was on my list of things to reach out. And then I noticed it was gone.
Yeah.
And so I guess my question would be is if any of those are still out there. I guess I'm assuming they were painted at one point with the street signs. And I think there's maybe still one by your house, Burley, or that way in that side of town. But if the idea is to get them because they are kind of a large, dangerous object that are probably, if you hit that with a car, it's probably way worse than hitting a sign that's meant to fall apart.
Right.
I just didn't know if there was any thought on those ones or.
I have not given that any thought, but if you want to shoot me an email, and give me some details on it, definitely look.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember a D&E student was looking to try to restore some of those.
There's some around the college.
Yeah. So, that'd be cool.
Any other questions for Mike? Okay, we have our chief water operator, Wes Lambert, who I'm hesitant to let speak tonight because Monday evening at the water board meeting said we needed rain. Well, it hasn't stopped. So.
Speaking of that, I'll go ahead and give an update on the reservoir. So I did some research because I know I've got a lot of questions over the past probably 2 months on the drought situation in West Virginia and specifically this area. So the first quarter of 2026, we were actually about 3.5 inches low on the rain for the rainfall for that period. And you could physically see it down at the river. The water had exceeded probably 3 feet past the bank, and which was, to be honest, I've never seen it that low for that period of time. But since then, we have gotten rainfall. It has helped. We're still not where I would consider where I would like to be for this time of year. However, we're not in a drought right now. It's considered abnormally dry. Considering it's June, we do have a few months to go before we're actually in the dry season, so it's too early to really tell what that's going to look like. We'll keep an eye on it. Right now, I'm not really on high alert or anything, but for the folks out there that's worried about the water supply, right now we're in good shape. We're going to keep an eye on it through the summer. If it starts to get in a situation where it's a crisis or anything, we'll let you know. We're not gonna keep you in the dark on that. West Virginia as a whole has definitely had some drought conditions that I have never seen before in my years. But climate change, different things is definitely playing a role in that. Levee maintenance. Since we're talking about the impoundment, one of the bigger projects that we're going to focus on this summer is cleaning the debris, the brush and debris off the levee. I think there's about 15 or 20 acres worth of land out there, so it's a big project. However, yes, it will make it look a lot nicer, but the biggest reason that we're going to do that is the Army Corps of Engineers actually requires us to keep that vegetation off of it. One of the biggest reasons is because you can't inspect it the way it is. You can't get down and look at what they call the toe drain. You can't look to see how the levee is because of the underbrush. And also some of the root balls, depending on the size of the trees and species, can actually damage the levee. So that we're going to focus on that this summer. Hopefully we have, decent time cleaning it up. You never know what you're going to run into with that kind of stuff.
Wes, if they're not able to inspect it and we have an issue like a flood, a mass flood that tears that down, if they don't offer any assistance after that because they're not able to inspect it, is that correct?
That's correct. Right now, it is not in an active status.
Right.
It's an inactive dam right now, or inactive levee. In order to get that thing reactivated, we have to get the underdrain inspected, the brush and all the underbrush cleaned off of it, and then they have to come back in and verify. At that point, they will, if a flood event happens or anything happens, they will restore that levee with federal dollars back to the state where it was before the damage. But right now, they will not do it. So it's a pretty big deal. I mean, it needs done. It's just, it's been kind of difficult to fit that kind of stuff into our regular routine. We have a really old water system to take care of and a massive water plant. And sometimes, it's all hands on deck to take care of that stuff. Especially in, the winters,
Right.
when we're fixing leaks and stuff. Ideally, it'd be nice to be able to get down there when there's no poison ivy and fire in the winter and clean that. But, we're dealing with leaks and things during that period. So we're just going to try our best to fit that in this summer and try to get it cleaned up. Other than that, it's been business as usual. We've been fixing leaks and installing water taps. We actually installed a 600 feet, a 2-inch water line down Gilmore Street. Matt Davis is putting in a pumpkin farm down there. So the current line that was down there was a very problematic galvanized line. And we didn't want to hook that pumpkin farm to that line because he was going to rely on that as a consistent source to water those pumpkins. So we wanted to go ahead and upgrade that.
Where is that gonna be?
Down at Gilmore, what is that, Hall Street that comes off the left there?
Behind the
He's got
DMV.
about 40 or 50 acres in the bottom. He's already got like 4 or 5 acres of stuff planted in there, and then he's going to do another 4 or 5 acres. And we also have been working on the 11th Street Dam. If anybody's been wondering why we've had the road closed down there a couple times, we have a 5-year inspection coming up from the DEP. That'll be coming up next week. So we had to clean the debris off of it, so that way they could actually inspect it and look at the concrete and different things. So it's been a busy spring / beginning of summer so far.
How does that one look right now, Wes?
It's okay structurally. There is some cracks in some of the concrete. We're going to have an engineer look at that. Matter of fact, the engineer's coming over, I believe tomorrow. Take a look at that and give us an update on what he thinks. But as far as the untrained eye, I don't really see any. I mean, it functions the way it's supposed to, but it's not. Grand scheme of things, it's not near as significant as the flood control portion. Its main purpose is to hold water back for the drinking water impoundment. A lot less functionality there.
Thank you.
Wes, I have a question about, you mentioned the reservoir. Where exactly is the city of Elkins reservoir at?
So it starts on Haddocks Road, and it goes all the way down through to 11th Street, right
with
there at
that.
McDonald's where the dam is.
Okay,
So everything above the dam up to Haddocks Road is
it's
the
considered a reservoir.
Yeah.
So, worst case scenario, bless you. Worst case scenario, we actually get some sunshine and it gets pretty dry this summer before our even dry season. Would we have the ability, they did the Elk Water Dam, would we have the ability to tap any water from that if needed?
They have some access capacity. We couldn't tap directly into the
Not
dam.
directly,
We're
but from,
Huntsville PSD. We're
Yeah.
interconnected there. So they would be able to produce some water as well as Beverly, because we're interconnected through Midland
mhm.
with Beverly. But what they could offer would be a drop in the bucket to what
We
we
actually
actually
need.
need. Yeah, we're a very, very big system compared to.
Everything else
Yeah.
up that way, yeah. Okay.
So our daily consumption is about 2 million gallons a day. And the Elk water plant on a 24-hour period can only produce, I think it's a little over 1 million gallons. Beverly's only 500,000 gallons in a 24-hour period. So, and you got to take into consideration, they have to feed their customers.
Mhm.
So I don't know how significant of help that would be. We really need a secondary source,
Mhm.
which that takes time and money
All big money,
to
yeah.
plan. And
Mhm.
very hard to feed such a big water plant with groundwater. You really, Morgantown, I think, actually just built a reservoir, a lake essentially, up there for their water plant. Ideally, it'd be nice to have a similar situation for us where we could pull off of a lake,
Mhm.
give us, 50 days of water supply. Again, that's for the engineers to look at.
Things will shut down if there's no water.
Exactly. So definitely some different scenarios we can look at. An engineer would be able to look at that and shoot some ideas at us, clarify some things.
Okay.
Any other questions for Wes? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Our Fire Chief, Steve Holmes.
Thank you, Mayor. So month of May, things was a little slow, 46 calls in May. Year to date, as of this afternoon, that takes us to 278 for the year. Still silence on the amendment to the Assistance to Firefighter grant we were involved with for the radios. I don't know what's going on the PHS there, but that's still all under review. I know that since DHS opened back up, the new application cycle is opening extremely soon. Nor typically, they try to have all the money gone before they do that. So may not be long before we hear something and it may not be good, so. Volunteer organization put in another grant through TC Energy for, new, rope and confined space gear. That's, under review, which is a pretty good sign. We've already started scheduling all of our annual service and testing for after July 1. That's typically when we start doing all that stuff. I think pump tests for July the 20th, I think. Hydrostat testing still underway. The vendor that does that for us, they had a pump failure on their main chamber, so they're kind of down for the count at the moment. But I did another inventory check today, so we've got a total of 79 cylinders that have to be tested, and 46 of those are done and back. With that, that's including the one failure that we had. So we're better than halfway home. And then Sutton and I have started wrangling the Civil Service Commission to get ready to do entry-level testing in September. The 3-year list will be coming to expiration. So might be a good list to be on. Other than that, our World Series tomorrow, go Mountaineers.
Any questions for Steve? If not, our Chief of Police, Travis Bennett.
Good evening. Mike already said, but I'm going to say it again because it makes me happy. We're back in the building. That process was actually pretty seamless from the time we got notified. I think it took us 2 days
You guys worked really well.
to move completely out of the trailers. Big thanks to the fire department for letting us borrow folding tables and stuff because we had no furniture when we moved. Since then, we've gotten furniture ordered. Most of it's on site, put together already. I think mine might be the only thing that we're still waiting on. It's supposed to be delivered next week. The guys just really jumped in, got stuff moved over, got furniture put together. They've done a little bit of everything that's not police work, getting all that stuff done. Any hiccup that we had in that process, because I mean, this was something that was like, hey, we need this done now. Get out of the trailers, so we can get rid of them. Any little hiccup that we had, we've had really good support, like the no furniture. We found a way to do it. Power. I make a call and in a few minutes it's fixed. We've had little hiccups, leaks, things like that. Somebody's always there to take care of it. Our IT support through Craig, he was phenomenal through this whole thing. On site, had us up, running with the internet, copier moved over, everything up and running very, very quickly to where we're functional.
Chief,
So,
if I can add to
very
that,
happy.
if I can add to that, because this was so quickly done, I sent Craig an email. I was like, hey, we got to get the trailers out of here. Need IT up and running in the police department. His response was, I'll stay till it's done. And pretty much he has.
Yeah, it's been real good. Way less hurdles than what I thought it would be. Way less pain than what I thought it would be moving back in. So it's good. Feels like a lot of space up there, even just in the area that was there before. After coming out of those trailers, I lose my coffee 4 or 5 times a day wandering around the office and sitting somewhere. Have to get used to it. Other stuff, we've got more cameras online recently. We're still not at 100%, but we have more cameras up and running right now. So that's a good thing. We're seeing progress with that. Have an officer, Patrolman Knotts, is now assigned to the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force. So that's a good thing. Working those partnerships and stuff for that. And Corporal Summerfield will be graduating, hopefully, basic SWAT course in Summersville tomorrow. That's all I have.
Question for you, Chief. I know you're back in the building, and it's actually from your mic both, but it's still construction zone. So if the public needs to get in touch with you, we still want them to call dispatch, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we're putting that out there. People want banging on doors and stuff
Yeah,
around, so.
good point.
Yes.
The building is not open to
Right.
the public yet. Have to adhere to that. You have to adhere to the 2 levels of egress for the police department, which we have. Fire marshal was on site. We had a couple of questions about a few things, but with the egress and everything, it was perfectly fine with you all occupying the building. One thing that I did fail to mention, the HVAC system at your part of the building wasn't part of the new construction and the new, so not sure what caused that breaker trip, but it wasn't the new system that was doing it. So, but company was gracious enough to go down and look at it right away anyway.
So once again, the public should call dispatch
Yes.
or 911 for non-emergency after hours. Perfect.
Thank you for,
No, I just want to point that out because I
Yeah.
want people going to the construction zone and all of a sudden they're up for masonry and it's a bad day for everyone. So,
yeah,
so
don't want that.
any other questions for Travis? If not, our city clerk, Mr. Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just catching up with the municipal properties, I think the 2 main things to highlight, one is the committee did recommend the council approval of the proposal related to wayfinding signs, so that's further down the agenda, we can talk about that more, but there was a representative from the Mills Group and several people from the Vibrant subgroup of the chamber that came to lend their support. That's, as I said, further down this meeting. And then we did talk about the renaming or naming clarification and readdressing of what will ultimately hopefully be called North Lincoln Avenue. That'll be before council eventually. We want to notify the residents there and so they have know a council meeting date when they can come share their input. That's for my own report. Been spending a lot of time getting the details right on the SMARSH archiving contract. It's also up for council approval tonight. Related to that, as I mentioned in the packet, summary getting workshops and policies and FOIA procedures that are going to have to be around that. But the contract tonight will just be that first step. TIF committee is going to meet next Thursday. Remember, you put them in charge of releasing the 5G process. So the first step would be releasing the actual wording of the solicitation and the bid package, seeking an engineering firm for the streetscape and riverfront projects. Starting to plan ahead for the clerk side logistical steps related to the city hall tax credit process, just to make sure we have our head wrapped around that. Sarah and I participated in another meeting, and Tracy would have, but she was out of town with another consultant that talked through some health insurance, cost management options. Seemed like very helpful consultant. We'd be happy to keep talking. Floated some interesting ideas. So that's just an ongoing conversation. Look at what might be possible, not this fiscal year, but the one after. And then finally, I'm glad I started early because I'm only just finally getting close to finalizing the FY 2027 budget snapshot. It's gotten kind of complex, and I think it speaks to how much the city does. You'll know it. You'll understand when you see it. It was patterned on a county snapshot from another state. Pages. I don't know how we could fit onto 2 pages when you wrap in the utilities, and there's still some things that aren't on there, but the admin team got a chance to look at that, got some good feedback, so hopefully I'll be distributing that before the start of the fiscal year. But that's all I was going to mention. I can answer any questions.
Any questions for Tony? If not, we'll move down to the approval of vendor invoice payments. I will entertain a motion to accept the invoices as submitted. We have a motion. Any questions or comments? None. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Down to new business. Resolution 1921, authorizing execution of agreement with West Virginia Tax Office concerning GIS tax map, sales tax map. I will entertain a motion to accept, please.
So moved.
You have a motion. Any questions or comments?
Just one question or clarification. This would clear up some of the issues that happened, I think, when like the 1% sales tax went out initially, and somebody who like had an Elkins address but wasn't in city limits got charged the tax. Like this will help with those scenarios a little bit, or
It's a better tool because it's an actual map, and you'll be able to look at it. They'll be able to look at it. Before, we were in the position of having to make these lists of the zip +4 codes, like even fractional versions of those. So it's really hard to ever show someone legitimately in a way that most people will understand. Here's where the line is. So this is the way they're going to do it going forward, and it'll be just like any kind of online map that you see. I'm sure it will have some hiccups. It does depend on our records being accurate. They're as accurate as get them. We've had help from Region 7 doing the submission. Just prior to that, we had, for the first time ever, really dialed in our boundary in our digital file for a census update. So that updated boundary is what went in. So we'll just have to see how it goes. But I think it'll be a much more user-friendly tool to look at.
Cool. Any other questions? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Resolution 1922, appointing Anne Berlin as an alternate member of the Board of Zoning Appeals. I will entertain a motion to accept, please.
So moved.
Have a motion. Any questions or comments? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Resolution 1923, adopting a policy requiring annual driving record check for employees authorized to operate city vehicles. I will entertain a motion to accept, please.
So moved.
Have a motion. Any questions or comments? None. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Resolution 1924, authorizing the operations manager to sign checks on the city bank account. I will entertain a motion to accept, please.
so moved.
We have a motion. Any questions or comments?
Yes. My question is, I have challenges for anybody that solicits bids or goes out and approves work being done, being a signer on a check.
This basically, we have 3 signers now.
Okay.
And could only be a backup signer if 2 out of the 3 are not able to do it.
I just
Yeah.
didn't want to nothing against you, just
Sure.
anybody that would be out, like putting out to somebody what a bid was, looking at the bids, or being able to go through and verify work was being done to be in the signer off on the check that may pay that person. That would be my only challenge, and that would be for anybody or any position. That would be
Yeah, I
a final
mean,
signer
there
on
are
the check.
times where if there's a reimbursement check for an expense that I have done, that if there's only one of those 2 there, I may have to
Right.
sign my own check the same way with the mayor or some of his.
Okay.
Anyway, so
Yeah.
it very seldom happens, but this is just to have a
A contingency plan.
a contingency
Yeah.
plan if two out of the three of us who are doing it now.
I just don't want us to do anything that may potentially cause an auditor to flag something. So that's just why I said anybody that is putting together bids or signing off on work being completed.
How,
Very good.
how come the HR director wasn't?
Because one reason why is because she is in the payroll department.
Okay.
Since they process that payroll, that would be, my recommendation is to not have her because of payroll involved.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
No.
Hey.
Motion is still fixed. Resolution 1925, appointing S. Campbell as the city benefits manager. I will entertain the motion to accept, please.
So moved.
We have a motion. Any questions or comments? None. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Resolution 1926, fiscal year 2026, federal general fund budget revision, SAO 2026-001-04. I will entertain a motion to accept, please.
So moved.
We have a motion, and this is a roll call vote, so I'll ask our clerk to take roll.
I have a question. Or
Absolutely.
question first. The state grants where we're looking at increasing by 50,000.
Yes.
I thought this was for any demolition that we do within the state or within Elkins, it's reimbursed.
That is correct.
Why are we asking for a $50,000 increase?
Well,
then?
because I had a talk with Jesse about the three properties. I think one is done now and there's two others. What the potential is for needing to pay those by June 30th.
So this
And I
money,
need to make sure that those funds are there, because if they're not, then we're over budget and we
Okay.
can see it, have an audit opinion on that.
okay. And then the reduction in the $35,000 for the city attorney, is that just from where Jerry was out for that?
She hasn't used those fees.
Okay.
That's correct.
And I think everything else for me made sense.
Were there any highlights there that you wanted to kind of call forward for?
Oh, so as far as the B and Os, we're increasing that by almost $600,000. Again, we're having a good, year. A lot of that has to do with the construction, like at the event center, what's going on at City Hall. B&Os are coming in very well this year, and half of the previous years, I would say. Sales tax was $200,000 above what we budgeted for. That came in very well this year. Of course, the reimbursements are for the construction loan. Once the contractor presents his invoice, it goes to the architect to signed off on, then it is sent to Mike and I. I then forward that on to the bank to have that money put into our bank account so I can pay them. So basically the way our auditor asked to go ahead and pay it out of the general fund and then show it as a reimbursement that's coming back in from the bank. So that's why that amount is as high as it is. And that's projecting, I think we'll have maybe one more invoice in this fiscal year. Okay. Of course, as Councilor Woods touched on, the state grants are for the demolitions, and I just wanted to make sure we had enough in there in case we did have to pay those contractors by the end of the year. And that's basically what a lot of this is projecting what will be completed. Anything, even purchases that are made, if we receive it but don't pay it till after, let's say, July 1st, if it's not invoiced until the new fiscal year, but we received it in this fiscal year, we have to take it out of this pot of money.
Okay.
So we're kind of projecting there what we could just to cover, so we don't get caught with anything. The $200,000 for the police department, that's going to be more than they need. I needed to spread a little chunk out somewhere, have purchased the furniture, but that's just some fluff from there, just in case we need it. Yeah, I think that, in a nutshell.
And then on the parks and recreation,
Mhm.
the decrease of 40.
So that's a housekeeping, thing for me.
Oh, okay.
It needed to go, we transferred the funds into parks.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did my budget revision, I did it through, the parks contribution and instead of the transfer, into other funds line items. So it's a housekeeping thing.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah. We're not taking any money away from them. They
Okay.
still have it. It's just housekeeping on my end.
Any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
I will ask our clerk to take roll.
Counselor Bros Figueroa,
Yes.
Counselor Carroll.
Yes.
Counselor absent, Counselor Hinchman,
Yes.
Counselor Kearns.
Yes.
Counselor Lawler,
Yes.
Counselor Pliska,
Yes.
Counselor Severino,
Yes.
Counselor Thompson,
Yes.
Counselor Woods,
Yes.
9 yeses.
Thank you. Resolution 1927, fiscal year 2026, general fund budget revisions 13 through 24. I will entertain a motion to accept these. We have a motion. Any questions or comments?
I will just say that each one of these revisions, putting, money around in its own department.
That's how you got
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Resolution 1928, fiscal year 2026, fire fund budget revision 1. Entertain a motion to accept these.
So moved.
We have a motion. Any questions or comments on this one?
And I will just say the amount that was approved, previously for the 300,000, to go to the fire department, it just shows what line items that, will be going into.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the clarification. Any other questions or comments? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Carries. Resolution 1929, fiscal year 2026, sanitation fund budget revision 1. I will entertain a motion to accept these. We have a motion. Any questions or comments or clarification?
It's just basically moving money around within that fund.
If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Resolution 1930, policy concerning ad hoc funding requests. I will entertain a motion to accept these.
So moved.
We have a motion. Any questions or comments or clarification?
Can we get some clarification? Clerk?
Well, this resolution would approve a, essentially give direction to staff, who usually be working in concert with Tracy, in consultation with the committee, but to essentially turn down a lot of the ad hoc solicitations for donations, sponsorship, and other funding requests that sometimes come to the finance committee, sometimes just come to a staff member throughout the year. There seem to be increasing numbers, not surprisingly, and I think that the rationale is that the city each year, as part of budget planning, allocates about $300,000 in what we call discretionary general fund funds to various partner organizations, either ones that are very tight with the city, such as parks. Part of what funds them is hotel motel, but part of it is a discretionary additional contribution allowed by council. And that's a significant amount of money to go out into the community. It's very key to a lot of important organizations, that some of which work hand in hand with city departments, others provide valued services. That seems like the most appropriate time to really consider and weigh the trade-offs of that size of contribution. It gets difficult throughout the year when Finance Committee receives requests for $2,000, $10,000, different amounts of money for what are always very worthy projects. There's not one that comes forward that isn't doing something valuable with recreation, with youth, with facilities that are used by the public. But it really puts the committee in a tough position to do the hard work of recommending a balanced budget. Often during that conversation, hearing from city departments, from parks, from fire, which is continually outrunning the income from the fire fee, about the belt tightening they're doing. And then kind of one by one taking these ad hoc requests and really kind of being put on the spot. And, you know, it's an uncomfortable position. So this policy would make it official that you're telling, again, usually me, to turn down these requests, that they're not going to be docketed to the committee. That's not to say that nothing will ever get through. I'm always going to let the committee know what I heard. But it's going to, one of the other points I wanted to make, I think that when people look at their government, think about governments taking money in and what they're going to do with that money, you know, it's as a technical term, it's a coercive process. You pay your taxes or there are legal penalties. And the contract that you kind of have with the public is that, well, okay, fine, I don't love giving my money to the government, but I understand it's going to be used for what I understand to be core government services, essential sanitation, hygiene, safety, the administration of a functioning city, all these kinds of things. I think there might be that many more people in the community that might stop and scratch their heads when they think, what's this 2,000 that went out here when fire chief has said he'd like to buy X new piece of equipment to keep in compliance with state regulations. And it kind of makes the city almost shift from being a city that's managing public funds to almost being like a grant-making foundation. And you know, if you want to do something like that, there could be a way to do it. Maybe in budget planning year, there could be a small pot that's set aside, and that's all that's going to be allowed for ad hoc requests. Probably during budget planning would be the time to really see that, see if that's possible, and see if that feels fair to the other competing interests. So I know that was a lot, but just to sum up, what the policy would do is direct staff to basically turn down ad hoc requests throughout the year, and streamline what the committee's going to be focused on as a result.
So for clarification, it doesn't interfere with our partner contributions. Basically, so I mean, that's the clarification for that. And what some folks need to realize, we're mandated to provide certain services, so we have to have funding in order to provide those services. But we have to take care of our staff first. And that's the reality. I mean, that's the harsh reality of where the tax dollar goes all the time.
I got several requests for July 4th decorations. Yeah, so I mean, there you go.
So, I mean, that's a good example. We just
Right.
can't use our tax dollars for that, unfortunately. So, but there are grants.
And it does inspire these organizations to think of other ways.
Right.
You know, so you have the Children's Museum selling the stars, you know,
Yeah, that,
and I think there's grants out there to when an organization has a need for something, that there are grants out there that could probably take a certain special project, like snowshoe is into education, things like that, and that can help provide it so that when you're looking at maybe your annual thing, that's the same with tree board, we look for grants to help subsidize, and I think there could be an opportunity maybe to have the city sponsor. Here's some opportunities for nonprofits, grant things along those lines. So, and I think it's nice to have some of the exceptions language in there where it might be fuzzy. You know, when you look at improving the ball fields or whether that's city, you know, that's part of Parks and Recreation. And so, you know, if there are people that are looking at this going, well, why'd you do that? There is some rationale. There's a lot of rationale.
City property, so I mean,
Yes.
I mean, there's gray areas, obviously, there.
Right.
And I was on a call with Department of Tourism today, as a matter of fact, and they mentioned that there's a lot of money out there for arts projects.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're trying to do something for the 4th of July, obviously you're not getting to that quickly. I mean, that's the reality of it. But I mean, there's a ton of money for arts. And not only there, I mean, a lot of areas offer money for arts.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question. So you get to the end of the year and say you've had a great year and you have a budget surplus. Does anybody have any input on council of what's done with that?
So if you happen to recall when this budget season this spring projected a carryover amount of $750,000. And I do believe that we'll be very close to that, so we need that to make our budget. Anything over that will come into a budget revision in July. We will still have expenditures for 60 days that we have to pay out of that. And then anything over that, then it would be brought to finance. Do we put it in the financial stabilization account, get that built back up again? Yeah. It's a decision that council and the committees will make.
And it always seems like there's something that the city needs badly.
And so you have these forms and stuff, and other committees have forms, but I guess they don't necessarily have discretion. Like the rules and ordinance has the form. Like, do we have discretion in rules and ordinance? Whether someone could come to the committee meeting or not.
Well, the committee is in charge of of items that would go on its agenda. I mean, it's,
Like, it just because someone fills out a form doesn't mean they necessarily get to make it to presentation.
like the form to make a change to an ordinance or something like that. It's up to the committee what appears on the agenda. Yeah, could definitely find to be a proposal. I mean, I think, you know, I'd feel comfortable with any given finance committee makeup of having the conversation with them and taking their direction to do something like this. In fact, it was a little up in the air whether this would just be a committee level policy, less formal, but the decision was to bring it to council because it, you know, obviously all of you, the finance committee isn't the only one that feels themselves in an awkward position.
Yeah.
One, because the city has given out funds for these kind of ad hoc requests in the past, and other governments in the area do a lot of it. Frequently news when organizations.
It kind of puts you on the spot.
Right.
So-and-so shows up on the finance agenda requesting $5,000 for something that small town Elkins, everybody knows everybody. And then if you say no in front of everybody, it's kind of awkward. It kind of helps that down a little bit.
I like this, and I feel like then it's funneling people to that formal budget process.
Right.
Yeah, which is
Here's
looking at the big
formal part of
picture.
Yeah. I like this.
Any other questions or comments? We have a motion on the floor. If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Motion carries. Resolution 1931, accepting and approving the proposal from Mountain Valley Bank for financing of the City Hall renovation project. I will entertain a motion to accept this.
So moved.
We have a motion. Any questions or comments?
I just think it's really great, and having spent about a decade on the Woodlands board and looked at lots of financing terms, this is really cool. This is great.
Other questions or comments? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Resolution 1932, accepting and authorizing execution of an agreement with Hart OS for a multifunctional copier for the fire department. I will entertain a motion to accept, please. We have a motion. Any questions or comments? Not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Resolution 1933, accepting and authorizing execution of an agreement with the Mills Group to design wayfinding signs, authorizing the expenditure of TIF funds, and directing the Municipal Properties Committee to assist with the project.
So moved.
Motion to accept, please.
So moved.
We have a motion. Any questions or comments?
I think I just had one question, and I suppose the clerk might know the most about this. Is there on the back half of the proposal, whatever they give us for the signs, is there a boundary for what that final cost will then be for installing the sign, or is this is just like the design work for what those will look like, or?
This would create a conceptual design, and they actually provide some digital files just for everyone's information about what it looked like in some other cities, but the end process here would be a couple different deliverables of here's what this type of sign could look like with size lettering for visibility from a car. Here's what a pedestrian scale sign could look like. Here's what it might look like in a couple of locations. They'll do a kind of, architectural computer drawing of what the sign might look like in situ. But that's all it would be specifications for what the sign would look like. In a process much like welcome signs, this city came up with a design at a certain point and then took that design and used that as the basis to then bid out fabrication and installation. So it would be a two-phase process.
So then after this process, we'll have all the information we need to then go seek a proposal to get the signs made.
That would be the goal.
Okay, cool.
Any other questions or comments? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Resolution 1934, authorizing and implementation of professional archiving services agreement with SMART. I will entertain a motion to accept, please.
So moved.
We have a motion. Any questions or comments? None?
How did this cost-wise compare to other services or?
Well, it'll this cost, which is the agreement would lock us in the same price for the next 3 years, approximately $12,000 plus some setup costs this year. Right now, we pay another vendor about $8,000 a year for just one component, which is the social media archiving. So we replace that, an additional $4,000 to $5,000 more, give us what that field calls single pane of glass or single platform capabilities, not only with the social media but with email and SMS messages. Right. So and it's the amount is comparable to other companies in this. I talked to City of Tampa uses them, obviously at a much larger scale. They have looked at various companies, felt that this one gave them the kind of auditability and record preservation that they were looking for. They spoke highly of it. I think it's going to be an important step forward for helping us comply with records requests and also legal, electronic discovery in the case of legal proceedings. So I'm pretty excited to get this rolling.
Is there potential cost savings in terms of staff time in dealing with records requests or?
It would definitely allow for much more granular searching. That produces fewer records that have to be reviewed for redaction to see if they're responsive to the request.
So that could make some of these, the FOIA request for the police department, that could potentially help alleviate some part of that time, or?
It would depend on the record that is being requested.
Okay.
Usually what
It's police video, so it's probably not going to be able to be honest with you.
it's the video request, and that's their own.
That's outside of this.
Yeah, that would,
okay.
there wouldn't be any time savings related to that. Depending on the type of record being sought, much more labor intensive right now because we don't have a very fine-grained ability to search some of these records. So.
Sutton, could you explain why it's important that we have this information archived and available?
Well, the West Virginia Freedom of Information Act phrase, talking about records that cities are supposed to be able to produce. It doesn't get specific. It doesn't say 3x5 cards. It doesn't say notes on a legal pad. It doesn't say carbon copies. It says writings created, circulated, shared, kept, a couple of words like that by a public agency or government are considered within the scope of that act. So once upon a time, email was probably a novelty, and then at some point someone said, you know what, email is actually probably under the scope of this act. So that's well established at this point. The real impetus for looking at this solution was to make sure we were also able to basically perform the same archiving with text messages, which are also considered on city issued phones. So that's main impetus for looking at this company is that they had that capability, which was not something that we had through AT&T or through any other solution. So it's the kind of thing that increasingly going to be considered, no question, to be.
Why would that information be needed? Like, what would we, I mean, aside from, that function, but what other way could that information be needed in like regards to like a court case or a subpoena or something, or?
Well, if you end up in court, if there's some sort of court case about, as court cases involve improper behavior, harassment, or corruption, or any sort of crime that could go on, or offense, courts expect increasingly have a minimum expectation of what organizations are able to produce and provide to the other attorneys through the discovery process. There's really no question at this point that text messages and emails are clearly part of that, especially when the offense that could be being litigated be related to communication sent that way, inappropriate messages.
So if the city didn't provide or didn't have access to or could not provide that information through this cloud service, I'm assuming we would be essentially not compliant, but also at fault, essentially, because we couldn't.
I could follow up with Jerry Roberts and get the direct answer, but I believe in some cases you lose court cases if you can't produce a record to show, hey, we didn't do that, or that it's not possible to answer this question. I believe that is one outcome that can result.
Okay.
But there could also be sanctions of some other kind.
Are there any other questions or comments? We do have a motion, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Discussion of proposed council rules. Sir, back up.
So I haven't heard any email feedback, but I definitely wanted to have this be in the packet for public availability, and then just hear any feedback that anyone has at this meeting about these rules. As I mentioned in the summary, it's been underway since about last summer. If we take action on them in the next month, it'll be just under a year from when the first model template was provided from Municipal League. So really did our best to both add a few things that seem like a good idea to incorporate, but also incorporate a lot of the way things have been done here, and just make sure there's a written down process that makes it more difficult later for someone to say, as lawyers will tell you, first thing to challenge on is process. And if there's a motion or action someone doesn't like, then they can say, how come this guy was participating remotely? And if he wasn't, you wouldn't have had a majority. What rule allowed him to do that? And if you weren't following a written down rule, then you can be then it can be undermined. So anyway, I'll throw the floor open if anyone has any questions or feedback. Happy to hear it.
So are the changes that in what we received that are kind of highlighted, are those the actual changes or
let me pull up.
Or additions rather, changes or additions?
What I highlighted were some of the things I anticipated that there might be the most input concerning. For example, the rules set some numerical limits or minimums for certain situations that I could well understand people might want to tweak. So I believe those are the main.
Okay, so these are just things that you highlighted that you thought to bring to the attention of council.
I guess they were the things that if they went through without anyone noticing them, you might be the most surprised. But I think I put it down.
And then for the committee, those were the things that we spent the most amount of time.
The things that are highlighted
trying to figure out between numerical specifics and tone. I think we tweaked some of the tone of some of the things, and I think part of it, talking about the quorum and respect for each other, is really important. And then just having, as part of this document, some of the things that we would have just had cited, as per state regulations about XYZ, having it, this is exactly what the language is. It's a larger document because of that, but it's helpful for members of council. And then I think some of the things I remember, the city attorney was like tweaking will to shall, you know, those type of things that like to deal with.
The permissiveness, yeah.
But we did spend a great deal of time
And there
on
were a lot
this.
of
And,
amazing sounds that were changed.
yes, yeah.
And I think the highlight reel for everybody, if I were going to call out what were the three things that the committee spent the most time talking about, was one, dialing in what public comment should be like. And so what we have there is definitely like, I think we might have spent at least 3 meetings talking about public comment. It felt like we cycled through. So I think everyone really like look at that.
Who would speak?
It was
really important.
Yeah, that was kind of one highlight. 2, the remote participation. I think we went back and forth on how to do that and what would be the best practice that I think creates like the most functional version of this body. And I think kind of the third highlight that relates to the function of this body is it doubles down on procedure, which I think when you have like a body that is largely copacetic, that gets along with each other, the procedure can't fall to the wayside because people are able to kind of like give and take in a way that's really healthy. But if you have a more acrimonious body, the procedure is really important. And I think there are some things that are in there that clear up that, and I think will create in a highly efficient body, even if, you know, Cody and I were about to,
I think that's
take
a
up hands.
point. So it's one reason I've wanted to strike at this point, because again, as you say, copacetic does describe the way these meetings really unfold. This is a really professional, collegial body, but the point of the rules is that you could end up with someone who is very much opposed to, or is not bought into that level of decorum, and who could be obstructive, who could be obnoxious even. If you read news reports from around the state, it does happen. And if you don't have a framework that you can fall back on, it becomes a lot harder to navigate those kind of situations.
So I have a couple questions though, like, and a lot of them are just worried. So like the part about like the notice of written notice to participate in I guess remotely, it's at least 6 hours, which I think is almost short, but cool. But does it need written notice like an email? Also, would that also count? Would that need to be explicitly said, or is that just kind of just generally understood that written could be, I could write or I could email? Is that just okay?
Yeah, I would certainly. I would accept it.
Okay. And then my other questions then were kind of over on like introduction of like ordinances. The way it looks at that, just with this, is that it says, except upon finding by council that circumstances are so urgent as to brook no delay, proposed ordinances must be referred to council by, and it's 2 bullets there, the Rules and Ordinance Committee, or a city board or commission acting within the authority granted to it by the state or city code.
So that would be the planning commission would be in the position of forwarding ordinances that amend the zoning code.
So like, for instance, like tonight, the background check, like that came from personnel. Do all ordinances have to go through rules and ordinances?
It'd be a resolution.
Or a resolution,
Yeah.
okay, so
that would be, ordinances would be affecting the city law, the code.
and so those would have to specifically come from rules and ordinances, that committee.
As worded in there, yes.
Okay.
Or planning commission, water board, sanitary board, acting within their particular focus.
And then so I was reading on further down, like would there be an avenue though for a city councilor then to propose like a change of either or to, to a committee? I mean, that's something I've always been a little kind of confused on, from the legislature to the council. It's been something I was kind of confused to how that process works. That it almost kind of like stops a council member from being able to introduce legislation directly, unless it would go, you could introduce it to a committee, or you could introduce it to whatever. Not saying it would have to be taken up necessarily, but it just kind of just stops.
Well, as written here, it would go through the rules and ordinances that would create that channel.
That would be the avenue for a counselor to.
Yeah.
Okay. hypothetically propose something.
Right.
Or conceivably, couldn't they go to the mayor to have the mayor set an agenda item, or have 3 members of council together to set an agenda item?
Yeah,
No.
there's,
Not as worded here, not an ordinance.
Oh, not ordinance. Okay, the
For
ordinance would still need to go to
You-
rules.
You have,
Okay.
you have a committee whose job is working on
Okay.
ordinances. This requires that work to happen there
To make the
to,
recommendation.
to
to
then,
Okay.
to then recommend it. But as currently working.
And one of the benefits of that is that generally we have our city attorney present, or we ask her to be present when we're dealing with a certain ordinance. We want to make sure that everything is proper. So,
It's difficult.
Mhm.
I mean, it's one thing I would say is it's difficult to imagine an ordinance arriving at council, introduced as it seems like you might be envisioning that one person would bring something to council in the form of an ordinance, and that it would be voted on.
well, no,
Except when circumstances are so urgent as to brook no
Right.
delay. I mean, your council can act differently from this. Council could also suspend these rules. Council could vote and say, hey, we agree, there's a reason
an
to
urgent,
skip this
dire
or
situation.
process to be followed that requires us to do this. That's one important thing to keep in mind about these rules. You can suspend them. You can, for one item, you can suspend them for a meeting. All of that is possible. Adopting this by resolution,
is that by a simple majority or is that by like a
yeah, there's
2/3 majority or?
it's there is a section in here. Section 7.4. These rules or any portion thereof may be temporarily suspended by majority vote, provided the suspension does not violate any statutory requirement, charter provision, or ordinance. So if there was, and what would that really look like? I mean, sometimes, technically speaking, your current rules say council has to agree to change the order of the agenda. What that looks like functionally is mayor saying, if there are no objections, we'll hear this item first. Well, if there were no objections, council just agreed to that. That's part of the concept of unanimous consent. So it doesn't mean it would have to be laborious, but there would always be the option, since this isn't an ordinance, it's voted on once, voting one more time can change it permanently, can suspend part of it for however long you want, et cetera. So there's that.
So essentially, this is like basically how the legislature would adopt the rules for that session, for that term, the legislative rules, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
That can be
directly.
adjusted, it's voted on by the members, could then be changed or adjusted as needed.
Sounds like it, yeah.
Okay,
I'm not that familiar, but it sounds like it.
okay. Well, I actually I've said this since I got on council. I think there definitely, needs to be something in place, just more structure. I think always structure is always a good idea. I do have some questions, and I'll reach out to maybe you guys, but I think it's definitely a good idea and moving in the right direction.
I think it's important to point out that ordinance and resolution are 2 very different things. And there's 2 different ways that they feed up into the agenda. And the ordinance needs a lot more looking over and input.
You'd be better off more thoroughly.
Mhm.
Any other comments?
So there's no motion tonight.
No action.
Like I said, what I envisioned is, especially just keep the comments coming.
Yeah, that's
If
great.
it seems like we're on track to move ahead with them as presented, I should have had this pulled up, but I was picturing, I guess the vote, I think what I was picturing would be July 23rd. To adopt them, but with them going into effect September, and that would kind of give August chance during the meetings in August to just be aware of them, look at them consciously, get used to the fact. I think one of the biggest changes, and it's not, I hope it doesn't seem that consequential in some ways, but it's going to trip us up, that motions would require a second. And the reason for that, you read any parliamentary authority, when it comes to legislative bodies, it's a little bit different from a club or the kind of body that a lot of times is using Robert's rules. There are 10 of you here representing the city of Elkins. if two of you not agree that a motion stated, that's one of you representing 10%. I realize we each come from a ward. It's pretty minuscule support for something that would then take council's time. So, and the same thing with the committees. If you can't get more than a third of the representation agreeing that something should be debated, there's serious questions as to whether it's a good use of the body's time. But I think that's going to obviously take some getting used.
And I love the back where you have the quick reference chart on how to behave during the
And I would-
meeting. Some of the phraseology is, fantastic, because I know I'll be at the meeting, it's like, what am I supposed to say to stop this, over discussion? And so that was a great
A lot of
addition.
that comes straight from what Matt
Mhm.
mentioned,
It was wonderful.
the appendices and whatnot.
And I would really encourage everybody to double down and look through that,
I
because some of the
know.
other things too, like getting recognition from the chair to speak at a meeting, like we'll
Right.
cut down on some of our
Yes.
cutting over each
We
other.
don't have buttons, though. That
Yeah.
was really convenient in the legislature, a button to be recognized, a button, and then you were called upon.
I've never told anyone no, so there's that.
But you could.
Yeah. So, any other comments?
Thank you.
Thank you. Down to mayor's comments. Actually, there's quite a bit I want to talk about tonight, actually. Rhododendron Girl State is here this week at Davidson Elkins College. Senator Capitol was here earlier in the week and expressed how much she absolutely loves visiting Elkins. So kudos to this body for this where we are right now and our partners that are out there. State Treasurer Larry Pack was in yesterday. We had a wonderful meeting with him. I met with him for a couple hours and he loves what we have going on. Very interested in watching us move forward. He took a tour of the corner of Augusta to see what they're dealing with and how it's moving downtown. Loves the hotel, wants to stay there again in the future. So we've got some folks in Charleston that are noticing what we're doing. As I said, I had a meeting with the state tourism office today, and they're thrilled with the money that we invested. Did we pay that, Tracy? Something said we may not.
I don't see what we have.
Okay, so I'll get with them and find out if they can send us an
Yes.
invoice or something. Thank you. But I'm trying to get them to come to a future meeting to give you guys their reaction to what we've done for our advertising in the Tyson area. And all their expectations, they are thrilled. They want to know if we'd be interested in possibly doing it again in the future. And I said, we'd like to hear what you have to say first. We do that. So, and of course, partner with Buchanan, she'll do the same match as she did this time. So I'll have to talk to Mayor Skinner about that as well. Past Saturday, Third Street Tattoo and Clementine's Cantina had their second annual Tacos Taps, and they had the taco eating contest. And the gentleman had 10 tacos down in 3 minutes and 42 seconds. Either very impressive or very disgusting, depending on your take. I won't judge. No, but I appreciate the fact that we have businesses and partners that are willing to kind of outside the box and have events like this. They had bands that played the entire afternoon, just a variety of bands, good entertainment, a lot of vendors that were set up. So I appreciate the vendors coming out and, just kind of having a good block party and having a celebration. The West Virginia Municipal League's member check-in is tomorrow at 11:30. So if anybody is interested in that, we can get you the link. There's a lot of good information that comes out of these calls. Sutton has mentioned in the past. He's been logging on lately, and like I said, we're discussing what we are hearing that's going around Charleston or other concerns throughout the state that we are hearing about.
What are the dates for that this year?
It's usually, the Municipal League Conference.
Yeah.
It's the first week in August.
And it's where this year?
Charleston. But this is a member call-in that we do every other week. It's
Second
and
Yeah,
fourth
yeah,
Friday.
those are
So
great.
I know you've been on a couple of Tracy.
Those
You
are
and Terry
great.
can as well. Like I said, there's a lot of good information that the Municipal League provides, and other mayors throughout the state also weigh in and offer their guidance and their input and stuff as well. So it's just a good opportunity to sit there and kind of brainstorm and share ideas. So tomorrow, the Welcome Center is celebrating their 20th anniversary and kicking it off with a concert downtown, if weather permits. If not, they will be here at the field, I understand. They have the Soda Pop Gypsies that are kicking off and starting to play at 7 o'clock. And then on Saturday, after a 7-year hiatus, Relay for Life is coming back to Elkins, and we'll be here from 5 to 11. Hopefully at the depot area, weather permitting. So do me a favor, if you're not busy, support these two entities. I said they do a fantastic job for us. I love having Relate for Life back, the Welcome Center. They've got a ton of people going through there right now. Their numbers are way, way up. So, thrilled about that. And with that, Chief mentioned earlier, Mountaineers are playing baseball tomorrow. They open it off at 2:00. So let's go Mountaineers.
Okay.